20 SMA. The green line crosses the black line, as well as the HMA crosses that 13, which is that whole moving average crossing the 13 EMA there. So you'll see those crosses, and you'll see that in conjunction with the 3 stows moving together very nicely from the oversold line along in alignment with the MACD. Now you'll notice that the stows started a little early, so the reversal really started a little back here, 12.16. But what happens to traders is, you know, maybe you've had a few losses in the past and you're not quick to pull. You know, maybe you've done things like this where you go in on the first green candle and you take too much risk, you get out, take a loss, then it goes green, and you know, you get frustrated with all the different timings. So then the next time around, you're not so quick to pull the trigger. You see the stows going, but maybe the MACD hasn't crossed yet. So you wait for the MACD to cross and the 13 to cross, and then you get in thinking you're going to do a reversal. And as you can see, I try to just go for 3 ticks, and I haven't made it yet. So this can happen because you're trying to focus on a strategy. But if we look at this trade, what's wrong with this trade? Who can tell me what's the first thing that stands out to you that's really wrong with this entry? Who can tell me? S4 pivot, too late. Exactly, very good. You guys have been paying attention. So the S4 pivot, as you notice, up until the 13 actually crosses it, which is much, much later here, the S4 pivot is actually resistance because we cleared the S4 back here by 2 ticks from the high of this big bar here. Remember, a pivot changes its properties from support to resistance back and forth based on the candles clearing the border north or south of it by 2 ticks from the highest point of that candle, whether it be wick or body, or the lowest point. So the fact that we cleared it south of the border, south of that pivot, now changed the properties from support to resistance. So when coming up here, we might be looking at our reversal trade and overlooking the fact, even though we're green, 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 everything's good to go, we're overlooking the fact that we're still in resistance. So you always have to balance trend line information with support and resistance information. And as Bob always says, try not to trade in barriers, okay? So the timing of all of this, this is still even though the candle's on the top side of that pivot. Notice the candles, the fact that the tail of this candle is still touching the pivot hasn't made it support yet. Okay, only here we're just coming. Actually, no, we're actually. If you look at the price of the candles here, the candles are at 34.84 and the pivot at 34.83. So we never cleared that pivot by 2 ticks. So hence, as you can see, the market's still coming down. And when you add to the fact that we have the 50 SMA there as resistance, notice it's dark magenta, not light magenta. It is still resistance, and compounded with the fact that we have a fractal drawn for you. So you've got you've got 3 things that are telling you resistance against a couple of trend line crosses. So you have to balance trend lines information with your support and resistance information and try to avoid the barriers. When the 6E is at like it is right now at the S4 and the higher time frames are pushing it down, how do you know it will go below the S4? That's a good question. The reason it usually goes below the S4 is I always like to use the higher time frames to measure where the 13 is. You know, the main thing that's going to tell you it's going to go below the S4 is the position of the 13 EMA. Remember, your 13 EMA is always your leading trend line in terms of bullish and bearish information. So when you're looking to see, are we a bearish trend or a bullish trend, you always want to take your cue from the 13 EMA. Where is that sitting in relation to the pivots, in relation to the other moving averages as well, like the especially the 20 SMA. So if your 13 EMA crosses the S4, then you know you're going to go below. You can't really tell that you're going to go below necessarily unless that 13 EMA crosses it. And I usually use like even a higher time frame to measure it as well, because if you look at the 3-minute in relation to the 1 minute, do you notice that the 13 EMA hasn't really crossed the S4 until now? So even though the 1 minute gave you some short little dips based on some price action, it did cross. It wasn't really able to go significantly lower, and so we can say that the mini trend crossed, but the overall market, the higher trend, the 3-minute and higher, their 13 hasn't crossed yet. So chances are we're probably going to come back up unless that 13 is able to really dip below. So 1239 is a good entry. 1239, is that a good entry? Let's see here. To go below here? Well, it is a good entry in that it's a clear trade. There's your touching candle. You got the support of all your moving averages on top. We're clear of any barriers in terms of coming short, and I would take it because at this particular point the S4 is still resistance. It's not support. So those candles are free to just drop below that S4 and not have any real issues dipping below it. So that would be a nice clear trade. Now, whether it be a 20 tick move or a big trend, I would treat it more like a scalpy move on the trend as opposed to a real trend trade, because I'll probably just go for 3 ticks here. And I always treat any price action below the S4 that way. I don't go for big 10 tick or 20 tick trades below the S4, because I'm always expecting it to turn around, because you got to remember the S4 is the basement of the market. It is the lowest pivots of your intraday pivots. Your intraday pivots are still below that, the dotted ones. These are your intraday, but those are not as important as your intraday pivots, which are the ones that are the big dashes. So if you look at your shadow box here, your show data box, sorry. Oh, why is it not clicking for me? Huh. Interesting. It's hiding somewhere. Let me see on the 3-minute. Oh, probably stuck somewhere. I'll find it in a minute. But anyways, if you click your show data box, they'll tell you this little magnifying glass at the top of your chart. That'll tell you what your different pivots are, which are intraday and which are intraday. But the dotted ones are your intraday and your dashes are intraday. So the S4, you'll notice your intraday are the ones that are labeled. It's easy to remember. And if you scrunch your chart like this and then you hit the F4 Freddy, it will come back to normal. The F4 Freddy at the top here. If you hit that, it'll bounce back to normal. You can see that is the basement of the market. So once we hit the basement of the market, unless there's actually a big correction going on or the bigger trend is really on a downtrend, chances are it's going to get real choppy below the S4 there and start to try to turn around. And if you look at the 15-minute chart, you can see that its 13 moving average is not below the S4. Nowhere near coming below the S4. But what I do, just in quickly touching on what we covered last week, where we talked about the algorithm, if we look at a scenario like this, is trying to gauge, is the market going to go below, is it going to continue, and so forth. Well, chances are there is a very, very strong chance that we are going to go much lower than the S4, maybe later tonight, or if things change, provided it's all based on, could be tomorrow even, unless we turn things around on this very next bar. And the next bar I'm referring to is if we go in the higher time frame to kind of get the lay of the land, and if we go to, let's say, I like to look at a 480 chart and down. So to give you that daily boot, can you see that we have a little bit of a reversal going on from the higher time frame, which is why we're dipping below the S4, or we're trading on the S4 today. But you'll notice that there's been a strong uptrend for the last few days, and the 13 is still support. So, and we've lost momentum here, which is kind of why things are kind of getting choppy and going sideways today. It's not actually a trend short yet. And we really want this Linreg, these candles to get below this 13, and ideally this 13 to change to resistance before we can really say we're in a downtrend. And notice that the HMA is still green at the moment. So if we look lower, look a little bit more closely, and we look at something like a 240, you know, they're showing you that little gap trade that was happening on the 480 trying to reverse, and you can see the 13 hasn't even crossed yet. So we could be on our way down, but not without some chop and bouncing around. So we really would like those trend lines to cross before we can say we're in a downtrend, and that could all happen tomorrow. However, with the fact that we haven't crossed here, you know, there's a chance that I'll be watching for these next bars to come in. If they come in red, then tonight we're going to be trading below the S4, but chances are they're going to bounce and support here and turn around and come in with a green bar, and we'll probably go up again. That's on the short-term view. You know, you can see here, if we look at the 60-minute, just crossing the 50, haven't really had a gap trade yet, so we may get another red bar, but as soon as the 60-minute the fancy bar time at the top changes over here, we're on the fractal already. I'll be looking for the circle of the duck to come in, and the Stowe 20's just touched down. You know, we could go a little lower with these Stows coming, but we might get some green coming in here. So that's kind of how I measure, in answer to your question, how low we're gonna go below the S4. Do you know why the 60 is so very slow? It's just, you know, this is, I have to say, I don't remember September this. I always know sometimes it takes the first couple of weeks for things to come back into the market after the August, but this is, you know, for some reason it's been a lot slower this year. So who knows? Maybe October they'll come in with, you know, gangbusters. So I'm not really quite sure. Now, so before we get into technical questions about strategies and indicators and the whys and wherefore, remember today's message is about maintaining your focus but using your workspace. So I want to talk a little bit about Segredo, and then I'll come back to Ninja. But I really wanted you to see this trade because, you know, the principle that I'm trying to address here is that it's very easy to get hypnotized almost by your indicators, especially if you've been sitting in front of the computer for an hour. So don't, you know, get upset if you take an indicator and it doesn't follow through and then you feel betrayed, or don't, you know, get down on yourself and think that you're really that stupid, because you're not. You know, things do happen. There are nuances in the market, and at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, guys. As long as you manage your risk-reward ratio, don't get too crazy in the market. If you just keep at it with the right risk-reward ratio, it's a numbers game. The law of averages should work out nicely for you. So let's look at how we can not just take some green stuff based off a couple of trend line information, and let's how we can really maintain an entry that's more down to the science. It's more specific. Maintain that focus using your workspace. I think very stupid. GC moves as fast as anybody could want. Yeah, I know. That's the problem with GC. The nice thing is you get filled fast in GC. Let me just quickly take a look at that. I just want to see how the price action's moving there. So, you know, like I said, we're just coming out of lunch now. Look, it's all been flat today too. You know, and that happens with the markets. This is very common. Don't, especially when by 10 o'clock, I usually find, you know, 10 o'clock, 10:30, if you've hit the S4 or the R4, forget about it. Forget about it. There's no more trading until 2 o'clock, guys. Don't even bother trying to trade during lunch or 11 o'clock. If you've hit the S4 or the R4 and you're bouncing around there by 10:30 in the morning, forget about it. Move on to another market or just stop trading. Come back the next day or come back at 2 o'clock for the 2 o'clock reversal. There'll be some activity because usually when we're at the R4, when we're at the ceiling of the market, by 10:30 already, they've spent their WAD. They've done their 10-point handle in the market, or they've reached their targets. So they all go to lunch. They go for that early Philly cheesesteak sandwich with a shot of whiskey. They're all off there down in the pubs having their lunch, and so they'll come back closer to 2 once the whiskey wears off, and they'll keep trading some more. So they're not really interested in bringing things down. And if we're at the bottom, what a diet, they're not really interested in taking things back up. I know, right? So but going back to this, so that's really the reason why there's nothing really happening. Things are flattened out because we already hit the extreme points of the market. So now their main job is to try to get this thing back up to the S4, and you're going to see that starting to happen here. But let's take a look quickly in terms of timing. If I use the Segredo here, I'm just going to move this table out to the side for a second. Whoops, look at that. And if I use this 1 minute chart here, if we quickly look at before it disappears on me, if you notice when I made this trade here, it was at 12:21. 12:21 is when I made the trade. And if I have the Segredo chart, remember what the Segredo is going to do for you, and we're going to get into this a little bit, is that it's going to help you with your timing issues. So even though we were you can see we're in a reversal, which is the reason why on the oscillator we're going from yellow to green. Every time you see the yellow go to green or the blue go to red, think of those as your reversals in the market. Those are your changes from bullish to bearish and so on. So you can see at the top here, the HMA crosses the gray line as well in that around that time. So sometimes it crosses first in the yellow part, sometimes it might cross a little later, but like here on the green part. But what you want to watch for is really the reason why they designed the numbering system along with the color coding system is to help you with timing. And this reversal really started way back here at number 2. Number 1 and number 2, that's where, especially where that cross is happening, that's where the taking advantage of the counter trend and the reversal trend should have concurred. It should have actually happened. So rather than following green stuff and lagging trend lines as we would be on Ninja, if you go here, you can see what helps me with the Segredo is candle number 2 is at 12:16. So on this candle, when the HMA had turned green and it was a true gap close, notice the stows had already started to trek back up. The MACD kind of just flattened out there, hadn't really crossed yet. So some of you may or may not have taken that entry using your Ninja. But now that you can see the stows going together along with your Segredo on the left here, giving you a clear number 2 with a HMA crossing the 13 EMA, which is that gray line on top there, now you have more confidence to say, well, you know what, this counter trend is going to be a good one. This gap close is going to lead into a reversal, because we're on the yellow here. The yellow is giving us our gap trade, and the HMA is crossing at the top. So if I had have entered at number 2, I would be out by number 7 as opposed to entering on number 7. So this is the advantage of using both systems. The Ninja helps you to see the resistance point of the pivots, and using the Segredo there helps you to see which candle you really should be getting in on, so that you're not just jumping in on any given candle and getting faked out. So let's see if we can use this concept and try to design our workspaces so that we maintain this focus as opposed to just trying to gauge our entries from overall trend lines and being late to things. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions so far on this? What HMA are you using with the 13 EMA? The HMA is always the standard default HMA that Barbara suggests, which is the 14 HMA. If you just go to templates and load any one of the, well, actually, they weren't there. Yeah, I just realized it's not on the templates because we came out with the HMA after. But if you just go to indicators and you actually just download the HMA from the box, it will be 14. So just leave it on 14. Okay, so let's start with the Segredo for a second. Let's talk about workspace for a moment. Okay, to maintain that focus, that's the idea here. We want to maintain that focus so we're not just looking at indicators. And really the problem we're trying to solve here is avoid getting tired and trying to just read the markets. You know, you want to try to separate reading the market from looking for your ideal strategy. You're either going to focus on clear trades, gap trades, or reversal trades. That's the idea here. And try to, you know, you don't have to just do one. You can be really good at one and trade another some of the time, so that if the market's not giving you your main trade, you always have another backup trade. So try to be really good at least two strategies. But don't try to trade everything and catch every direction in the market. And this is where traders kind of go off the deep end. So let's see how we can not go off the deep end and maintain that focus. So for those of you, just a quick announcement, there's a couple of questions here. Some people just arrived. Yes, for those of you just arrived, as we're talking about workspace right now and maintaining that focus for your strategies so that you don't get lost in the sea of indicators and the jungle in the market. But here, let's talk about Segredo. Remember, when you first sign up for Segredo, you must, I'm going to quickly give this to you, you must leave off the www. For right now, Segredo is still $100, guys, but it is going up. Okay, I have to tell you guys, it is going up to $149. Okay, so there's a very small window right now for those people who do want to keep it at $100, and the $100 rate is strictly for shadow traders. If you were not a shadow trader, you'd probably be paying closer to $200 for Segredo right now per month. So there's a lot of other people paying a completely different price, and if you don't use the right URL, you will be paying the wrong price for Segredo. Then you have to send an email, then they have to reset it, and it's a big pain. Okay, so try to avoid all of that. And right now, what I would do with some of you guys is, if you're thinking about using Segredo, I would, you know, look, even at $100 a month, it will save you from losing money, as you know, even if you're still nervous and only making baby trades. It will save you from losing that $500 loss. If anything, it's well worth it. And that way you're locked into the $100 rate for your lifetime. But it is going to go up. So if you don't, you know, if you don't subscribe real soon, I don't know what date they're going to take it up. We'll definitely let you know and give you a chance to sign up before we increase the price. But after that date, it doesn't matter if you're a shadow trader, you're going to pay $149. It really doesn't matter. So you want to lock in that $100 rate and definitely use the URL when you're ready to subscribe, though. The $100 is grandfathered, right? When it goes up. Yeah, all those people who have the $100 rate right now, as far as I know, like I said, unless it changes, all of you who have the $100 rate will keep it. You will keep the $100 rate right now. It's not going to change. You're grandfathered into it. So that's why I'm saying, for those people who haven't signed up for Segredo and you're thinking about it, you kind of like it, you're not sure, I would just sign up anyway, so you're grandfathered in. And even if it just saves you money, start to play with it. You'll get, once you know how to use it, and I'm going to talk about it more in the classes, then you'll be able to, you'll be hooked. It's a very, very useful tool if you know how to use it. So does a $100 rate stay grandfathered if you stopped using it in the past month? If you have problems with credit cards and you're switching credit cards and you were sick or whatever, I would go ahead and sign up again, you know, because then that way you'll get the $100 rate. But like I said, I don't know what the date is. They haven't told me anything yet, but at some point they will, and I'll let you know, though. I'll definitely let you know to give you guys a chance to grab it at that $100 rate and keep it at that $100 rate. Okay, so just type in shadow traders. Make sure you leave off the www shadow traders dot Segredo. And if for any reason you use the wrong thing, then just email me, Segredo Quants. Sorry, I can't talk and type at the same time. SegredoQuants.com. Shadow traders. Just email me. I'm going to put my email here, Melanie Sun Trades, and I'll make sure you guys get signed up. Melanie Sun Trades at Gmail. So just send me an email, and I'll help you guys get signed up. I just send it to your inbox. I just put the link in there. So guys, just use that link, copy and paste it now, so you always have it. And when you're ready, then use that link, okay? And like I say, we'll give you the notice, but I'm just telling you, I'm warning you, at some point it's going to go up. So here's the other thing right now. Let's start with the work tape. So now, where do you get Segredo tech support? So let me just quickly show you. When you do, once you've signed up, I'm going to quickly close this. Let me just close this Segredo for a second, and I'm going to pull it up. And also, for those people who are new, you want to make sure you download Firefox. There should be a Segredo tech support. If you want support for Segredo, you have to send the Segredo tech support an email, okay? I can't really give you support for Segredo, so, and nobody else can. They have their own specially kit here. See where the support button is, the support tab? Oh, no, wrong website, sorry. Go over here, and just at the top here, once you've signed up, don't use the shadow traders anymore. Use this URL. Just type in Segredo Quants. Just Segredo Quants for once you've already signed up. And then you put your password in, because this URL is actually better in terms of speed. Some computers have freezing issues, and we found that this URL seems to work with some of these traders who have slower computers and so forth. So once you've signed up using the shadow traders link, then make sure when you go to just sign in and use it, just use this link. Don't use the shadow traders part. So Segredo Quants. Okay, so now that we all got that information, let's move on here. Segredo Quants. Once you get here, there is a contact information. There should be a support tab on here as well. And all you need to do is you sign in with your password. Now, if you want the FAQ section, you go to the sign up tab, but don't actually sign up because you've already, oh, I guess they moved it. Maybe it's on the sign in, sorry. I cropped the table just so I have the mirror signal. Now there's no buy or sell opportunity right now in these markets. You can see it's blank, and the mirror buy or sell will come in when it's telling me is a really good time to enter. But let's first just create a chart here for really quickly, and we'll take a look at things as they're developing here. So if I'm watching two markets on the radar, how do I put a space in between so they don't run together? I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can put a space in between. But what you can do, what I recommend is, let's say you're not really going to be watching all these time frames. So some of you are scalpers. You're going to be trading off like a 1 minute and a 3 minute. Some of you are more train traders. You might be trading with a 15 and a 1. So you can always X some of these time frames out by clicking the little X's below, and that will minimize what you're looking at. So let's say you're following the 1 and the 3. for the euro, and maybe just the 1, 3, and 15 for the gold, and now it looks a lot easier to follow, you know. So X some of the time frames out by hitting the red X on the left there. Okay, so here we are. It looks like we are still climbing back up here. And we dipped considerably below the S4, and we're still trying to make our way back up here, all because of that reversal in the higher time frame. And what we're trying to see is how is that support on that reversal going to hold. And so I would do something like this. Now you can set up your workspace how you want it. You can have a 1 and a 15-minute chart, or 15 and a 5-minute chart is really good. And you can just have your 1-minute ninja sticking out the side to see where your pivots are and what your fractals are telling you, which I think are very useful along with your stoves. So at a glance, if you're looking at all of this, let me check something here. Oops, I just lost my chart. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. If you're looking at all of this, now you can gauge what your ninja's telling you and verify it with your Segredo. Does that make sense? Oh, there we go. What does the plus symbol in the 4th column represent? That just says it's really good. If you get a little asterisk that shows up there, that says it's supposed to say it's a really hot move. As opposed to, yeah, it's a nice direction. So as you can see, we have a sell here on the gold 15-minute chart, okay, but we don't, now it's disappeared. So they are flashing and coming and going. And so what we want to do is we want to watch for our timely entry and matching when these sells come in, all right? But coming in on the time frame that you're trading. So we look at the EC here. And just because I have the gold up as well while I'm waiting for the EC to come in, I can switch to the gold if you like. It might be more active. The EC is probably slow right now. You can see that my 1-minute gold is coming down, but we have a little gap trade here overall on the shorter term. But the longer term is saying we're coming short, which we are. We're going short. So as you can see with the euro, we have a little dip according to the 1-minute chart because we have some zeros coming here. The market's thinking about it. Remember, when these zeros come in, and notice that there's 3 in a row. Hence, you can see these 3 dojis in a row here. Thinks there's no real price to measure. That's what it's telling you. There's nothing to measure. That's what that circle is. So it's thinking about it. It's waiting for more price action, more volume to come into the market, more momentum to say, okay, yes, it's really going to be a number 1 going long, or it's going to be a number 1 going short. Do you use more than 1 monitor? Yes, I usually use at least 2 monitors. Now you can see, look, momentum and volume is coming on the euro. So we have a number 1, and guess what? There's your EC giving you a buy signal. Now's your 3-minute chart is concurring with your number 4. Okay, going yellow with a green number. So counter trend is happening, and we're well away trying to get above that S4. So there's your buy signal. So now let's take a look at the 5-minute first an instance. I just want to add it here. So I want to show you something. So sorry, let me just add this for a second here. I took it away, so now I want to add it back. I just want to take a look at the 5-minute and the 15-minute really quickly. If you notice, you can use either your 5-minute or your 3-minute. They're just going to give you slightly different timings of the same thing. You can see the 5-minute is just starting to make that transition across. The HMA just crossed the 13 EMA, and your yellow bars are giving you number 1 and number 2. Why do the mirror singles move away so quickly? Because they're really just 30-second reminders. They're just there to say, this is your opportunity now. Take it or leave it. Okay? Because if they stuck there, just imagine this. You're looking at another monitor at another market, and you came back to this screen, this monitor, and you saw a buy was still there, and you entered, but the real opportunity was 2 minutes ago, you could be entering late. So the idea of the flashing and the appearing and disappearing is to help you say this is your real window of opportunity if you want to minimize your risk. After that, you could be too late. You're late to the party, and that's the reason. Now it's coming back. It's saying you have another opportunity. We're still good to go. This is your opportunity. We're still buying. That is what is happening. We're sitting too long. Yes, exactly. We're sitting too long on things. You got to grab it. You got to verify your entry and say, okay, yes, they're going to go through resistance. Here we got the number 1 that we were looking for. The number 2, okay, we had a blue bar here, but I'm going to override that blue bar because I got a green number, because my 3-minute and my 5-minute are confirming I have a number 2. And they're, you know, this is still crossing it, so it means it's still the beginning of the direction. So if I get in now, you know, chances are I get my 3 ticks or more, as opposed to waiting any longer for any more verification. I might be too late and have to look for something else. Because, does that make sense? Would you compare Segredo with Ninja for those of us without the quant? Sure, sometimes the buy remains, but it is a judgment call for the trader because the move is older. Exactly. So if the buy is there and it's still there and it's still there, remember, we're on to our 3rd candle. That's why I always say now the buy has finally disappeared. That's why I always tell people you can't use one ingredient and trade that as your ATM machine and expect it to just print money for you. That's not how trading works. And I'm sorry to tell you, you're going to go shop around forever and a day, and that it's just not going to work out for you. Go try hundreds of systems, and you're never going to find that because it just doesn't exist. If we had it, we'd sell it for $1 million and we'd all retire. Okay? So there isn't a single ingredient that you can just use like a robot and just trade it blindly and let that print money for you. So you have to verify things. That's the world of indicators, and that's the world of trading, and that's what you're here to do. Develop the skill and the focus. So the key thing about trading is you want to establish a focus. You don't want to try to capitalize on everything. Traders who try to just trade the market per se lose in the end because you get lost in the sea of jungle, you get tired, indicators change. So yeah, you can see now the market's changing. Where that buy left off, it's also telling you, okay, your window of opportunity is gone. It's no longer there. You're late to the party now. So by the signal not being there, it's telling you you shouldn't really be entering. So now we're looking for a sell opportunity. So in conclusion from what I'm just saying is that you want to have your buy, but you want to verify on your Ninja, per the training that you guys have had, what strategy are you trading today? Are you trading a trend trade? Are you trading a reversal opportunity? Are you trading a gap trade? You don't want to just say, oh, I think the market is going up. Let me take a buy. That's not how you want to trade. I think the market's going to go above the S4 right now. Or I think the market's going to go below the S4. Yes, you can say the market's going up based on this information, but you still have to qualify per your Ninja and per your trading rules. Are you trading a clear trade per the rules? Do you have all the confirmations there? Or are you trading a gap trade, or are you trading your reversal trade? And if it is all there, and plus you have a buy, now you have a high probability trade. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking to separate the noise and only grab those high probabilities. And if you apply my money management system from the basic trader document, and you only look for a couple of choice ones a day and play the numbers game and do that over a period of time, like you do any business, you invest in the long term, not the short term, you have a winning formula. That's the idea. So Segredo charts 15, 5, and 3. Well, I'm not saying 15, 5, and 3 necessarily. That's, that's a lot of charts. But what I'm saying is you can have a Segredo 1, a Ninja Trader 1 on the right side here. And you can have your mirror trader if you're going to use those buy signals. And so you can have, I like to use a 15, 5, and 1. Let me just grab my 15-minute chart here. I like to, this is usually either my 15, 3, and 1 or my 15, 5, and 1 are really good workspaces to use because they give you a good measuring stick of the trend versus the price versus support and resistance information. So you can see here my 1's already coming down, but look at my 15-minute. So now that I have contradiction, my 15-minute says yellow, even though it's a red number. The red number represents we're coming down. Okay, that's what the red number represents. So we don't have a green on green. We need a green number with the yellow bar on the 15-minute to say we really have a strong uptrend. So the fact that we have, and notice that the candle up top here is clear, it's empty. So that represents the market's thinking about it. So now we have contradiction on the 15-minute chart, and we have contradiction on the 15 versus the 1-minute chart. The 1 minute saying red on red. So from the short-term view, we have some red price action. Is it really your strategy is what you should be asking yourself that you want to trade. You don't want to just take any old blue or green or red or yellow for that fact. You don't just want to jump in when you see red on blue and green on yellow and so on. You still have to verify, is this your choice strategy that you want to trade? Is this the high probability mood you're looking for? Because remember, Segredo is going to just plot the market for you. And you still have to connect the dots to say what's high probability and what's your favorite strategy. So notice, even though the 1 minute's coming down now, look, the 1 minute's starting to change. Now it's starting to come in alignment with the 15-minute. So I might further, as a filter, say, and I would recommend this, you know what? I'm not going to jump in every red and green stuff. I'm going to wait till the 1 and the 15 are in alignment. They're both giving me, the 1 minute's giving me a green on green, which matches the 15 yellow. And so if I get that, and that meets my trend trade or gap trade criteria, then I might take the trade. Does that make sense? Good point. Do you look at the 15-minute for overall direction, then use the 1 for entry and vice versa? Exactly. I'm using the 50-minute. I'm saying, look, this downtrend is petered out. And so now we've got some yellows coming in. The HMA's changed green. Things are trying to turn around here. The downtrend is petered out. So I'm not going to be a sucker according to the 1 minute just because the Stowe crossed or the this crossed or that crossed. I'm not going to take any red right now because it's likely to be short-lived. And if I get in late, I'm going to get whipsawed. So rather than trying to steal ticks on a short-term predict on the 1 minute, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to take something that's more significant, and that will happen when the 1 minute matches the 15-minute. And you can do the same with the 5 and the 15. You can use this as your workspace and say, you know what, look, the 5 minutes showing green. Well, let's see when these numbers go green, then I'm going to have a buy opportunity. Maybe my buy signal will come in. Oh, what happened here? Oh. Maybe my buy signal will come in when this finally turns to green. So now I have things that are in sync. The buy will come in, the 15-minute will go green, my 5 will be green, and I'll buy. So you can sync up any 2 time frames. So if the pros use the 1 minute chart, they must be looking at a longer time frame first. Exactly, they do. A lot of them use 15-minute charts, and even some people use like 240 and 240-minute charts for longer term predictions, or see how the morning's going to go or the afternoon's going to go. But a lot of professional traders, most people use 50-minute charts. The only reason that we don't say necessarily enter off a 15-minute chart, because it's like this. You see how it's yellow right now with the green HMA, but you got red numbers? Well, if we look at our 15-minute ninja so we can see what that actually looks like and compare, you can see we're stuck at this resistance point. We're really having a hard time getting through that S4 at the moment, and we don't have any real big bars with momentum. They're dojis. So it's very hard to gauge if you have a small account. If you are only a $2,500 trader, you just got started. See, here's the red, because they're struggling to get through that resistance. It's very hard to say, you know what, I'm just going to jump in on the yellow bar, and because ultimately it's going to go up, and I can ride through the risk of any of this red. You see, the smaller guys, retail traders, don't have that kind of threshold of risk. So the reason we have the 1 minute chart is to fine-tune your entry, your timing, so you minimize your risk. So now if we have a 1 minute, we can say, well, the 1 minute hasn't turned to green yet, which means they are, when they go green and they're ready to get through that S4 pivot as resistance, then my 15-minute yellow will hold true. And it'll be true because it'll give me a green number matching that yellow bar. Then not only will the direction be true, but the timing of my entry also be true with minimal risk. That's the idea between matchy, which I call matchy-matchy across the board. You're matching 2 time frames together. One is to get your timing down to a science for your actual entry to minimize your risk and your drawdown, and the other is to decide what direction you want to choose. It seems like for the non-secretor users, doesn't the CT indicator collect a lot of the same data? Yes, but you do have to play with the settings, and I suggest, I have created a template for you that already fixes the settings, especially for Euro. If you go to the CT, the problem with the CT and like any of the arrow indicators, you'll notice that my Mel Basic doesn't have any arrow indicators, and they're really optional. I leave them off because when I'm teaching people the basic strategy, I want them to learn the pattern first instead of relying on arrows, and then add the arrows after as friendly reminders. Arrows are never 100%. Like I said, there is no indicator that you can, single indicator that you can rely on as to print money for you. there's going to be fake outs. But if you go in here, you'll see, now I have a lot of extra ones that I've created, but there's the Mel Basic Clear Trade chart that I've created for you. And that has the CT arrows on there already with the right parameters. And you can change the parameters for different markets, more volatile markets, and using different filters, and just play with them. My dear, you're so funny. She says, I think I need my own friendly reminder. Have you found the Segreta has worked well on the slow-moving NG? Yes. Well, that's the nice thing about, like I said, to what I'm saying to most of you, is that if anything, it will keep you out of trouble. Because you're so tempted, you see, especially when the market's flat like this, you're so tempted to go, I think it's going to go above the S4 on the very next green bar that you see. And look, the 50-minute is keeping you out of the market. The 50-minute is saying, we may have a yellow with a green HMA, but our numbers are red, so we have Christmas, guys. Remember, the rule of Segreta is when you have Christmas, when the colors don't match, then you don't trade. See, here's a green bar. A lot of people are tempted to just get the next green bar because you've been sitting there waiting, anticipating, waiting, anticipating, waiting. 50 minutes go by, you're still waiting. Look, this trade has been going, they've been trying to get through since 1326. It is now already 10 minutes have gone by. You know, do this for 2 hours and you can see why you jump in the market and then go after, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? So Segreta helps you to stay out of the market. When the market is flat, I think that's what we need to really go back and look at the structure, as you were saying about the 50-minute chart. Exactly. See, and the whole reason we're having this problem to begin with, you know, like I said, based on my class from last week, where we talked about the algorithm of the market, and I used the higher time frame as a measuring stick to see how things are going to go for that day. And when you see reversals like this, there's no strategy here. Okay, look, we just barely crossed. Let's go check out the daily view. I like to look at the 960 view as my daily view. And what do you see? Per the strategy rules, the rules apply on all time frames. What have we just done? We just closed the gap. Circle with the dot appeared way up here, asterisk, you know, 5 or more ticks divergence between the entry and the 13. Do you see 5 or more ticks in divergence between the candle and the 13 EMA? No. So now we're a sitting duck. We're in the no trading zone. We could go short. They could squeeze through support. Or they could come green. We probably have to wait for this whole fancy bar timer to roll over and get a new bar before we have a real direction for the market. Right now we have no direction. And this is what the algorithm is telling you per the higher time frame. It's telling you what condition of the market you're trading in based on the same strategies as Barbara has designed. They all play out at different timings on different time frames. So you have to kind of scan through them and go, where are we at as a condition as a whole in the market? And you know, like a few days ago, we were in a really good condition because we were trend trading, right? Last week. And then the beginning of this week, we're in a good condition because we were gap trading. We were still following the 2 basic strategies. But now we're in no condition because we're flat. 13 hasn't crossed, so we're not downtrending. We don't have a green candle, and we don't have a green HMA, so we can't say we're uptrending. If anything, we're stuck below this resistance fractal. So we're nowhere. So, and you wonder why we have nothing on the lower time frame to trade. We have only Christmas. If that mess is on the other time frames, maybe there is a scalp somewhere, but not so much else. You're making a great point. Exactly. So this is the reason I covered in my algorithm class is you want to look at the higher time frames at the beginning of the morning before you start trading and kind of see what condition are you trading in. Are you trading in an obvious gap trade where there's divergence before you hit the 13? Are you trading in an obvious trend trade, or are you trading in a flat market that's in transition? It's a developing trend. It hasn't established the new direction. And then when you add the lunch factor or the after hours, you know, then there's really no direction. So then what you have to do is you have to go find a market that is giving you something more solid. See, you can see the green stuff coming in now because they're bouncing on that support of that 13. And gold's been pretty flat too. We had a little gap trade here, but now we're also in a no man's land. We could go up, we could come down. We have to wait and see. There's no real predict. Let's go to NG. Well, NG was pretty obvious. NG came down. Okay, so NG was a down day, pretty much down. You know, you had some whipsaw in this. Look at this long tail. So things are likely to turn around and likely to go back up. Look at the stows already hit the bottom. MACD's just crossing the center line here. So now you can see where your predict is. So we go down lower in the time frame. There's the long tail, likely to go back up. Okay, but look, all morning we were down. And we go to our 15-minute, we'll see it even more closely. There's our coming back up. Early morning, coming down, coming back up. So you start to get the predictor. And so when you get that direction, then you look for your Segredo, then you'll get it. Since we are in no man's land, could we be at the start of a big trend? Yes, but the problem with being on the higher time frame, like a daily chart or 960, is then you really need to look closely at your, if I go back to the 6E, you need to look closely at your medium time frames and your lower time frames to find something viable to do more of a scalping trade on. So you can see, look, the 50 minutes out of sync. So now you can wait for either this, at some point this may continue down tonight, but for right now, this has got to either go green or red. And I wouldn't, when I see flat like this, I wouldn't be trading anything. I'd be waiting for that 13, look, it's at 1 degrees, has to give me 15 degrees or higher for me to even consider a green candle. You must use the degrees factor. Remember the rules for the clear trade. If you're going to go long on a clear trade, you need to have the 13 EMA has to be above 15 degrees in trajectory, right? With the three, we've got the 3 moving averages there, but we've got no trajectory, so there's nothing to trade. And you must have 2 or more time frames matchy-matchy, so they must be in sync. So now we're establishing the focus of what we're looking for as a strategy, and we're using the time frames of our workspace to verify either using the Segredo or the Ninja to verify when it appears. Let me just remove this. Are there any questions about that? So, and even Almira hasn't given us a real buy or sell yet. When the market is flat, I think that's when we need to really go back. Okay, we solved that question. The overall trend for the 15 is down. I'd be really reluctant to go long. Way more confirmation. Not a good gap trader. Yeah, well, the overall predict. See, the problem with the if you notice here, the overall predict is to go short, but we're at the end of something. Can you see what the Segredo is telling you? What it's saying is we've hit the support point. So we could go down some more tonight or tomorrow. That's what that's the thing about a 960 chart, guys, is that you have to remember there are short-term, medium-term, and long-term predict. And based on what you're going for and your risk model, you have to time your entries using the different time frames, which is why I'm addressing your workspace. to establish a focus. You can't just say, oh, well, the overall predicted the market is to come down, you know, and just go, okay, I'm going to go short and go to Home Depot, because it could go up for 2 hours and then come down. It may go down, you may be lucky. But because we hit a support point, you know, we hit the base fractals here, the stows are at the bottom, we hit a support point in the market. And if you look at the 960 chart again, let's go to that 960 chart. Does that make sense? You know, unless you have Buko bucks and a wide stop, then you can put your order to go short and say, I think this is going to cross. But you know what? Look at this nice green HFT bar here, right as it about hit the 13. It could get another green HFT bar before we go short. So that means we could go up all night for 2 hours and then go short wee hours in the morning. So you can't predict the timing, and you can only say as a trend this is likely to reverse. But because of this divergence here between the 13 and 20, I'm going to tell you it's not quite ready to go short yet. And hence, that's what the 50 minutes telling you. We hit support, we're going long. Look, here's the green and green. So we hit the support of the 13 EMA according to that daily view. Can you see that? So green candles have to come in to show you that bounce. You know, we landed on the moon. You know that land on the moon? You bounce a few times before you actually land. That's what's happening. Can you go over the time span or predict for the different time frames? Well, that's kind of hard to say, because again, it's all about what's happening right now, and are there any barriers in the way, and am I likely, is there enough trajectory to get, and volume and price action and all the rest of it to give me my target. So you always want to wait for, regardless of what the forecasting is. So even if you forecast, like I'm forecasting because of the support on the 960, we closed the gap, that we're going to have some green right now because my 50 minutes telling me we hit the red fractals and we bounce in our support, and as soon as the green on green comes in, I'm going to have a buy opportunity. You know, unless some HFT comes in and changes it all, it could all change. So, but I still have to wait for A to show up. I have to wait for the green candle with momentum over here with my 15 degrees in my 1 minute chart, according to my ninja here. I have to see that criteria. So that's why I always tell people, wait for A to show up, and then you can trade, get your 3 ticks or your 6 ticks, and then you have a trade. But ideally, you want to wait for that to show up matching your time frame. So your Segredo 3 minute will give you a green on green, or your 5 minute will give you a green on green, and your 50 minute will give you a green on green. And maybe you even have your buy signal come in. On the mirror, would you wait for the 135 all to say sell with a lower number, 1, 2, 3 sequence? No. I wouldn't wait for them all to say sell or all to buy, because look, see, look, now the buy signal just came in. There's the buy, so it's telling you now this is it. I wouldn't wait for them all. Sometimes the more than one time frame will come in. Sometimes it will just be one, then the other, then the other. I wouldn't wait for everything to align before you jump in, because you could end up catching the high of something. Maybe you wait for a couple things to come in. So I've got a buy here. I may not take this buy because we're still at 7 degrees per our ninja. We have a 4, we have a 2 on the 5 minute chart here, so that's good. We have a green on green 1 on the 15 minute chart. Oh, now we've got the 1, 3, and 2 buy. So now maybe we're at 14 degrees. This candle is still a doji, but it's pulling away. Now maybe you could take a buy. So in this case, it happens to be there, but if it's there for you, now you can take it. But it's not always going to do it. Under data, the 960 minute, how many days back do I set? Well, I always put at least 60 days if you're going to go that high. I think I only have 30 days here. 30 days is fine. But remember, I'm not trading necessarily off this. It's kind of telling me why we're going green. You know, we're not going much lower because we're trading off that support, and it's the end of the gap trade. And if we go lower, 60 minutes, that's telling you, it's giving you the green candle, telling you you're bouncing off the fractal and the intraday pivot. And if you look at the 15-minute view, whoops, you got your green candle pushing through, trying to give you a reversal, watching that stow tick up. Gap trade, hopefully into reversal. So we still got our buys here, and we've got our Segredo green on green number 1 on our 15-minute chart. Our 5-minute chart is giving us number 3. So what happens is it tells you, okay, this is probably the time you should get in if you're going to get in and go long. So you're not getting in too early and you're not getting in too late, because either conditions will give you too much risk. If you try to anticipate and be the guy say, I think the market's going to go short, yeah, I could go short, but 2 hours later. Not before it bounces around on some support point. And so you don't want to forecast necessarily in getting too early, but you also don't want to be late. What about the 200 SMA? Yes, the 200 SMA is a problem here. So you notice we're at number 7 already going to Christmas. So is this the golden opportunity of all opportunities? I'd say no, and especially since our stow's already at the top. You know, we could push through here, but 13-minute has got to get a little, the 13 EMA has got to get a little closer. So the factor at number 8, if I jumped in and took a couple of ticks, I would be out of this trade. I wouldn't see this as my big golden opportunity to trade. Maybe you wait for the number 2 to come in on the 15-minute chart. This is not like, out of all the opportunities you could pick all day long, would you go take this particular number 1, number 2, you know, trading long to the 200 SMA, and the 200 SMA is so close? I wouldn't choose this trade. You have to further qualify which golden opportunities you're going to take. So now that we're at 7 or 8, I will be out the trade already. That's what the 7 or 8's for. You ideally want to be out by 7. And or if you see Christmas show up sooner than 7. See, now we've got red number 1 short because 13 is too far from the 200 SMA. Notice that our 5-minute just turned Christmas on us. So if you see Christmas show up or number 8, then you know it's time to exit. There's nothing else going on right now. You want to wait for the 13 to cross that 200 SMA. And you'll see a new number 1 here, and everything will go green again when that happens. And maybe you'll get a number 2 on the 50-minute chart, and then I would definitely trade. That would be an opportunity I'm looking for. And we'll get a new buy on our mirror. Does that make sense? Between the 200 SMA and the oscillator flat until after 4 doesn't look so good. Exactly. I can't get my head around the colors for support and resistance. Lighter should be above the clouds and darker should be below the earth. Support colors seem reversed. Well, you have to think of it as the candle in relation to the line, not so much the colors. The candle in relation to the line. So I always use the term north of the border, south of the border. Think of yourself as in Mexico versus America, and there's a border. So the dark color, it's always about the price. Where is the price in relation to the trend line that defines support or resistance? Not the color of the trend line. The color is just helping you to see that the price is indeed at that point or location. That's all the color is for. So if you look at the dark color, the reason it's dark is because the price never cleared above the border by the 2-tick ratio. Remember, the measuring stick is always 2 ticks. If we're going up, it has to be 2 ticks from the bottom of the candle, from the lowest point being the wick or the tail or the body. So if it never cleared the above the 13 EMA by 2 ticks going long, then that 13 EMA stayed resistance and price fell below the 13 EMA. Only once the price cleared the 13 EMA by 2 ticks from the bottom of the candle did the color change for you. And now it's become support. So it's always about where is the candle in relation to the trend, in relation to the line you're looking at, whether it be pivots or moving averages. Does that clear for you? Should I repeat it? Why would you buy with mirror if Ninja was against the 200 average on the 1-minute chart? Well, the buy actually came in sooner, before the price hit the 200. The buy actually came in over here. So if you want to look at it from a technical standpoint, you know, we had a scalping opportunity. It was giving you a scalping, and again, I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to say this really clearly, because some of you guys are not connecting the dots here. Let me say this again. Look here. The buy came in here, 34.84. We had the buy opportunity up to 34.87. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we had a 3 to 4 tick, depending on where you got in, scalping opportunity. But was it a very big move? No, because it couldn't sustain because of that 200. It just squeezed through and then it turned around and came back down. Just because price goes to or through a line doesn't mean it has penetrated that line. It can go to and slightly through, doesn't mean it's penetrated. It has to clear the border by 2 ticks from the bottom of the candle. So the buy opportunity came in earlier here. It didn't come in here where you're stating. Didn't come in there. By then, you got to catch the buy as it comes in, not while it's still green saying buy. You know, the buy came in, gives you a 30-second opportunity to get in and take a move. But this is the main thing I want you to get, guys, which is, I think, why some of you are not fully understanding how to use a Segredo. Remember, the Segredo is not necessarily saying this is your golden opportunity in the market. It's not saying this is a perfect market. And in fact, none of the indicators are saying that. Not the fractals, not the 13, not the stochastics, not the MACD. None of them are saying this is a perfect market. They're not saying this is the hottest move in town. If you want to make a gazillion bucks, here's your move. None of them are saying that. They're just coded algorithms. The MACD is just saying, you know, we're going, you know, overbought to oversold. We're changing bearish to bullish. The stows are saying the same thing. The moving averages are saying the same thing. Then you got your whole moving averages. Price is saying we're going long versus we're going short. And then the fractals are counting how many trades are saying we have a confirmed high, we've hit the highest of the high, or we're still going to a new high, or we hit the low. And then you have to connect all these things and say, I have enough confirmation to say, I'm going to enter on these 3 things. If all these uncertainties, how could this work for a robot mirror? Well, that's just the thing. I mean, if you go to AMP Futures, or any broker for that matter, they all have auto trading systems that function off like a mirror signal, right? The mirror says buy, and you know, and they buy. And if you go look at their websites, you can go see the statistics and the performance. You know, a lot of these robot systems out there only do very conservative, you know, trades, only do like 2 trades a week. And even then they have losses. So that's just it. We never sold you a money printing machine. What we said is we have probability factor of X number of signals are going to give you X performance. And it's a law of averages. And unless you really get that concept, you will always feel betrayed and you will lose. You'll get frustrated. You'll just start hacking in the jungle. You will, you know, wait for the market to turn back around because you don't have it in perspective. So the game is to verify, balance as many confirmations as you choose in your workspace to give you the highest probability buy signals. So if you see a buy and you go, I'm not going to take that one because by the time I get in, we're at the 200 already, skip it. Move on to the next one. Maybe take a short. You have to decide what you're going to focus on that's going to give you X number of trades a day. You see, I'm trying to shift your paradigm here, your thinking, because what you're saying, you're looking at the market saying, this is supposed to tell me how to trade the market, when the market is perfect, when the market is not perfect. And I'm trying to shift your paradigm to say, do I have my criteria? Is it a good opportunity for me to execute my criteria? Do I take the signal? It's telling me the price is green, it's giving me a buy. Is my criteria there? Are all the confirmations that I like to use for my highest of highest probability there? On this green price action, is my criteria there? And some of the times it's going to be all there, and some of the times it's only going to be half there. That would have been a nice opportunity to buy had the 200 not been there. But the 200 messed it all up. It's a strong barrier. So guess what? We had a buy, we had some green, but we only had half the criteria. We didn't have all the criteria to make it the golden opportunity that we're looking for today. So you move on and you wait some more. Does that make sense? It's a paradigm shift. You really got to shift your paradigm. And traders, it takes some work. I really have to work hard at those to really get people to see. And that's really what the message is today, is to shift your focus to say, my signal gave me a buy. It was the market was supposed to go long. The gentleman was saying here, let me just add the crude oil because I think it's a really good point that he was making about the buy signal. Then why should I trade a buy signal if it's like the 200? It's going. Why does it give me a buy signal if it's going to the 200? I think was his question, and which is a good point. But the point is, you want to further evaluate for yourself and decide what's your golden opportunity and what's not. So look, now we've got sell opportunities on the 5 and the 15, right? I don't know when the 1 minute sell came in. It came in probably right at 2 o'clock and it probably disappeared already. But the key thing is here is that if you've been through the training as we've done with the boot camps and those seminars and the videos and stuff, and you know about where your golden opportunities lie in the market, then just show up for that. Scan through the market and see, per the higher time frame, are you in a flat zone? Are you landing on something that's the end of something? Or you're at the beginning of something in the algorithm? Are you beginning of a move? Are you beginning of a clear trade, the beginning of a gap trade? Are you the beginning of a reversal trade? And then go on your lower time frames and find the ones and twos, matchy, and matching your sell thing, and show up for those golden opportunities. So either find a market that's giving you something or show up for it at a specific time, like your 10 and 2 reversals. Those are your fundamentals. So if you're following my balanced trader document and you're looking for 2 good trades a day, guess what? Show up at 10 o'clock and show up at 2 o'clock. and just trade that for 30 days straight, 2 hot moves, then who cares about the 60 gave me a buy signal going to the 200 moving average? Who cares about that? That's a nuance as far as I'm concerned. That's like scraping the bottom of the barrel, the scraps. You're fighting over the scraps in the market. Don't fight over the scraps. Focus. You know what your criteria is. Now look for the golden opportunities and show up for that. Don't try to navigate the scraps. Does that make sense? And then feel betrayed because the indicators didn't tell you you were trading in the scraps. If that's clear. Vidya says, great point, good perspective. So you're looking at more Segredo charts now in your workspace than Ninja charts, or do you keep it even? I keep it even. I keep it even. I look at balanced. What I like to do is I have my 1, 3, and 15-minute Ninja on one monitor, and on my other monitor I have it like this. Let me just change this to crude oil for you. On my other monitor, I have my 1, 3, and 15 Segredo, or my 1, 5, and 15 Segredo. Whoops, go find the 15 Segredo. And so then I see matchy my in syncness on, and I see the timing of my exact entry. So there, look. I tell you, really, if you want to look for really good opportunities, you want to trade when the 15-minute is going on a number 2, you know, between number 1 and number 2 here on the 15-minute chart. It's especially if it's red on red or green on green. If you see this is a really hot opportunity in the market. So you can, or you can put it, mix and match on one monitor. You can just have a 1-minute Ninja like this with your 1, 5, and 15 Segredo, or you can get rid of the 1-minute Segredo and just have your 1 and your 5 and your 15 and your thing. You can play with your workspace and mix and match it any way you want, but the main important point I want to establish here is you're establishing a focus view of the market so that you're looking for your criteria and your golden opportunities that you know that should be there. You know that at 2 o'clock there should be something in majority of the markets. And then if you go look at Barbara's document in your members download section, for those new people, for the benefit of all the new people, I'm going to just type in shadow traders here. And that's the key thing that I like traders to help traders with. I'm not necessarily saying that, you know what, we have the sexiest indicator on the planet that's going to be your ATM machine. That's not what I'm saying, and neither is Barbara. But what she's saying is, look, I'm experienced enough. I've seen it from an insider's view. I know what goes on the inside, and I know how to give you all the tips and all the rules under the sun, and how to connect the dots better. So chances are your probability factor is going to be a lot higher if you follow my criteria. If you go to this document called Correlated Markets, there's lots of extra PDFs for you to read. But if you go into your members download area, you will see that she's created for you a correlated market view. So now, if you look at this and you see, okay, if the ES goes up, the euro goes up, the dollar index goes down, okay, but crude oil goes up and gold goes up. So now you've got inverse market relationships that you could trade at those golden opportunities, but you've also got correlating markets. Well, let's go check the euro. So crude oil is actually going down right now, so let's go see if the euro went back down and if gold's going down. We want to go see that. So now if you're playing the correlated game versus, you know, trying to catch every move in a market, if we go check out well, we know gold went down because look, there's the sell opportunity in gold. So now you could put your correlated markets on your portfolio. Okay, there's the sell on the euro. So I already know that the euro selling and gold selling. So it looks like they went down some more. Let's check the euro. See, it's too choppy. Not much price action, but it did go down. So I'm not all that jazzed to trade this. So then I'll go look at maybe something like gold. So I know crude oil was nice and clean, nice trend. Nothing fantastic in euro. Not enough volume there at the moment. I don't know why the volume is so low. But gold gave us a nice little reversal here. But a lot of support in the way. So would I trade it? Not necessarily, because, you know, maybe now once it crosses through that 200 and the MACD is going through the center line, you know, Stowe just hit the bottom though, so it could bounce on this 100. So it's a lot of barriers. So now you can circle through the markets and go, well, I'm going to trade the one that has the least amount of barriers in the way, the most volume that's really happening, and I'm going to trade that. Let's see the Russell. I'm going to add the Russell. So you can scroll through using, and that's the other nice thing about Segredo, you can actually see it when it comes in and look for those opportunities. But let me just add one more instrument here that I forgot that I'd taken off. But again, the message is all about establishing a focus and looking for golden opportunities. Minimizing your risk, okay, by really having a focus using your workspace, as opposed to, oh, I think I just said the wrong thing. Hold on. As opposed to just trading everything you see that's green or red in the market that you think is a buy opportunity or a sell opportunity. It's a lot more focused. And if you're looking just 2 to 4 trades a day, you know, if you're scrolling through the markets, chances are you're going to get it. You're going to find it. So let me just check the Russell, because that should also correlate. Yeah, and see the Russell came down too. Also, again, 200 is in the race. So you would take the move to go short to the 200 and you'd be out at the 200. Botan says he's got it. Excellent. What do you see developing in crude oil? Okay. So I'll come to that in just a second. We'll take up a couple of questions here. 10 and 2 also for NG? No, 10 and 2 for NG. NG is the only market that doesn't really abide by all the fundamentals. You might see something happening there, you know, coincidentally, because there's volume in the market. You may at times, but it's not an absolute. But it did, look, you see, here's 2 o'clock. It did make a nice move. Volume came in the market at just after 2, you know, but sometimes it's a coincidence. So, but look, they seem to, for some reason, this is why Barbara coded, you know, this is your insider's view of the market that she has. She's saying 10 o'clock something happens and 2 o'clock something happens. Now, a lot of times you get news reports at 10 o'clock, which is, you know, just extra momentum really at that point. But what she's saying is, even if there's no news, you still get something happening at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So it doesn't have to be a news item for something to happen. So I would be there anyways in the NG, but I wouldn't say it's the absolute rule, because NG is kind of its own market. Do you do the NASDAQ E-mini? I don't, but you can. Somebody said, since the quant obviously can't see everything a person, must find the opportunity on Ninja first, then if the quant numbers agree, you have extra confirmation. People must remember the quant doesn't make the decision, it confirms the setup You find according to the rules on Ninja first, following the rules, and then the confirmation from the quant second. Yes, Paul, that's a very good point. You can do it the other way around too, though. But you have to be, again, really focused on the segredo. You see, you can, in theory, guys, not use Ninja at all. You can, in theory, and that's probably what Barbara would like you to do ultimately, is not use Ninja at all. That's the direction she's going in. She would ultimately like you to become so skilled at just using Segredo. It's going to take a little work. It's going to take a little confidence building because, again, you really have to choose your opportunities. So let's just change this back to crude oil for a second so we can see, so I can show you, I can demonstrate this point. But just because we've spent so much time teaching people the criteria for the strategies, your clear trade and your gap trade, it's much easier to recognize it, as you can see. Now, somebody asked me what's developing. Well, if you look at your stows moving together, your MACD crossing, obviously you can see we've had a big move here, and I think there might have been a news item on top of that. Let me see what my Forex. Was there 2 o'clock today? No, there wasn't a 2 o'clock. I thought there might have been. No, just the no, it's just the big boy move. So, but that's a lot of price movement in crude oil. Look at that, my goodness. But you know, so you're going to start to see in the last quarter things are going to pick up. Let me just find my 1 minute Segredo crude oil for a second here. Can you use Segredo but without pivots? You can get burned by not knowing where they are. Yeah, that is a point. Pivots really help to see where you are. But like I said, in an ideal world, you could just follow the numbering system. In an ideal world. Just trying to find my 1 minute here for a second. 1 second here. But that's going to take some getting used to. Here we go. So let's just get rid of this for a second. So according to the numbering system for Segredo, the numbering system should, in theory, override the pivots. It should override the pivots as long as they're not flat. If they're giving you a lot of Christmases and a lot of chop, then you know that you're stuck at a pivot. Or if the oscillator is flat on the Segredo, then you know you're stuck at a pivot. So in theory, if you practiced, you could say, I've got my green on number 1 on my 1 minute chart. I've got my 1 green on green on the 5, and my 15 minutes giving me a green on green number 1. That's my entry. So you could, in theory, not have the Ninja and just trade the Segredo. But it's going to take you a little bit of practice to sit there and wait for that alignment. So I like to see it. I like to see this view. This is a nice view where you have your 1 minute Segredo, sorry, your 1 minute Ninja kind of showing you the pivots and where everything is, so you know how much you're going to go for. And you can see the Christmas is going to come in because you got, you know, the PP here and you've got the 200, and then you kind of trade off your Segredo. That's a very nice workspace. But like I said, I'm not trying to say you must do A or you must do B. I'm trying to show you different ideas for your workspace to help you establish a focus on the market so that when you're looking for your criteria, you're able to say, this is it, versus, you know, and then be able to say, no, I'm not going to take this one because the 200 is too close, it's in the way. Or I'm not going to take this one because of the S4. Or I'm not going to take this one because it's on the 13 EMA already. You see what I mean? So you have to further qualify. You can't just say, we've got a sell signal, we've got a buy signal. It told me to go, so I'm going to go. That's not how you trade. It's saying, it's giving me a green opportunity. Is this a really good one or is this a kind of maybe one? and you want to rule out the maybes and go for the good ones, look for 2 to 4 good ones a day and do it for 30 days, double your account, then divide your risk again by opening up a sub account and look for 2 to 4 in the first account, 2 to 4 in the second account, do it for another 30 days, and then you'll be in the profit zone. But if you do it the other way around, what I call hacking in the jungle, and you have a market and you go, take it back to the morning, and you go, yeah, it's 8 o'clock now, okay, especially in something like this, and you go, oh, I think the market's going up now. My mirror gave me a buy, and oh no, now it goes down. You take a loss. Oh, now I think it's going to go up now. I'm going to buy now, and now it goes down again. You take another loss, and you go, oh well, I'm not going to take this one, and then it goes down, and you go, no, I can't take it now because it's 200. And then you go, well, maybe I'll take this one, and then you get stuck at the 50. And you see, it's a very different focus. There's no focus at all. There's no focus at all. How I trade is I go, okay, it's 8:30. I might be able to grab a clear trade because the 15 minutes says we're coming down, and I'm just going to wait for my touching candle, and I'll ride it to the 200. I'll take my 3 to 6, and then I'll sit and wait and see if it gets below the PP. Maybe I'll wait for the stows to align. Okay, here's the stows. We bottomed out below the PP. Maybe I'll take the reversal here, and I'll ride it to the 200. I'll grab another. There's my second trade done for the morning. Now it's 9:30. Maybe I'll wait till the 10 o'clock comes in. Which way is it going to reverse? Nothing today. Nothing major here. Oh, here, maybe I'll do, you know what I mean? So I'm looking, I'm gauging, I'm looking for better opportunities as opposed to now the market's going to go up, oh, now it's going to go down, now it's going to go up, now it's going to go down. So you don't get sucked in and sucked in and sucked in and hacking in the jungle, and then you get lots of losses that way, and you're frustrated, you feel betrayed, you feel stupid. It's no focus. You need to establish the focus. The robot wouldn't take every mirror signal either. That is just the first step, and then you need to see what is the context exactly. Your fractal line on the TF on the 1 minute is different from mine. Is the data days loaded more or less cause the line to draw differently? On my TF, this is my crude oil. This is not my TF. Let me see what my TF. No, it could be because I'm running so many things on this computer. Sometimes it's the internet signal. And also make sure that you didn't load the colors opposite. Does it look correct now? Does it look correct now? Okay, guys, so we have a few more minutes. Are there any questions today? So in conclusion, I want you guys to play with your workspace. Set it up how you want, whether you're going to use a 1 and a 3 or a 5 and a 15 or a 1, 5 and 15. Put your mirror signals there with your favorite 3 markets or 2 markets. Have your ninja chart. And then, like I said, look for your golden opportunities. Maybe the 9:30 open, 10 o'clock reversal, and you have an extra line. I don't know where sometimes it can happen. It can be the internet. I think it's really because I'm running go to, I wouldn't be hung up on that. If you have an extra line doesn't mean anything. It just means, there was some price there. But various internets can interfere. And also, I'm a lot further away from the CME than you are. I'm all the way in Europe, so that can affect it as well. So I wouldn't be hung up on that. When will the evening classes resume? Soon. Check the calendar because the dates and times will be in there. We'll definitely be in a transition right now, so we'll definitely be letting you know. But make sure you check the website and feel free to email me at Melanie Sun Trades. But if there's any last technical questions or how to fix something on your chart, feel free to type that in right now, and I'll take up those questions. Crude oil is flying. Yeah, I tell you, some momentum just came in. those Philly cheesesteak sandwiches were really good, and they just came back and decided to go conquer crude oil. Get it up. You know what they said? They said, let's get it up to the 103 mark, $103 a barrel. Let's make some money. Do you know if the auto trading component will be included in the price? Guys, I can't talk about the auto trading, and the thing about the auto trading is it can take a while. Those things are very sophisticated, they're very tricky, they're very sensitive. As I said, like if you go to the AMP website, there are a lot of brokers have their own auto trading systems, and they're not foolproof. It's not going to make you $1 million. It's very conservative, and you can still lose money. So I would just focus on, establishing your trading, focus on getting your 2 to 4 trades a day with really choice moves, fixing your workspace, maybe getting the Segredo if you haven't got it, so you have the tools you need to help you make better choices. It's only $100 a month right now, and just work with that. It's going to be a while before any type of auto trading comes out. It's like I said, it's a very tricky thing. It's not something they can just throw out there. It has to meet all the criteria, and right now they're ironing out the kinks, and it takes a while. So I can't say. I don't know. All I can say is I wouldn't hold my breath. But just get on with your trading, and if you're going to invest in auto trading, do it on the side as a diversification. But keep doing what you're doing. Don't change your day job. Is the opposite true for shorting? Needs to be 15 degrees. Yes, it's 15 degrees both ways. It needs to show minus red. The minus means we're shorting. So it needs to say minus 15 degrees to go short, and it'll be green to go long. Excellent topic regarding focus. Simpler workspace seems to address my morning hit and miss views. Yeah. Like I said, fix your workspace so you don't allow yourself to become a hacker in the jungle. So set it up so you go, okay, I'm going to wait for the 50-minute to give me the green on green. And then I'll see that green bar that shows up on the 1 minute is the perfect one. So now you've established a new focus criteria for your 1 minute. You said, I'm only going to pick the green bars on the 1 minute that confirm with the 15-minute green on green. See, it's a different focus. So you guys need to go rethink your trading plan and try it on the simulator for a few days and see if that changes things, as opposed to trying to predict the market. Don't try to predict the market. The market can change any given day, any given minute, any given second. It can all change. So wait for certain alignments to show up, and then that's the green candle or that's the red candle that you take according to the strategies that are designed by Barbara Cohen. Okay, so let me see, any other questions? We were told that gas prices would drop to $3 per gallon this fall. Well, it could drop. You never know. Not quite fall yet, just going into fall. They got to take their last bit of profit before they drop it. This isn't a technical, but quite some time ago you recommended a trading movie. I've forgotten what it was. Trading movie. I recommended a lot of movies. Oh, might have been Mind Over Money. Mind Over Money, not Mind Over Matter. Mind Over Money, just Google it. Mind Over Money. Good, Yang says a phenomenal class. Well, thank you. What is the website? You could probably find it on YouTube, actually. Just go on Google and type in Mind Over Money. It's a documentary, so it's on a lot of websites. It's probably on Netflix, on Google, on YouTube. It's a documentary, so it's a free movie. It's here. I'll type it in and send you Mind Over Money. It talks about the psychology of and the trading mind. It's very, very good in terms of risk and why we risk so much, why we do what we do. It's very, very, it's excellent on to teach you the psychological side of risk and the human factor, the human error factor, how it all, why we do what we do, why we make the decisions that we make. And that influences your trading. They do it from a trading perspective, so it's really, really good. Did you say NG doesn't follow fundamentals but follows technicals? Well, NG has its own fundamental move, which is every Thursday at 10:30. Anything that's a news item or is sort of an insider move, like the 10 and 2 reversal, or the 10:15 and 10:25, those are what we call fundamentals. So that includes news items. So NG's fundamental is 10:30, but it doesn't necessarily, NG is not part of the standard correlated markets. You see, it's these correlated markets that follow the fundamentals based on time, like the 10 and 2, 10:15, and 10:25. These are the markets that are going to follow those. NG is kind of on the side. It's natural gas. You know what I mean? It's on its own thing, but it does have its own fundamental, which is the 10:30 news every Thursday. You must watch out for that. Make sure you're out before 10:25. You need to be out of the market. And I wouldn't trade that as a news strategy either. I wouldn't trade that, not anymore. Barbara does not recommend you trade it. I would, and I wouldn't even do the gap trade anymore. The gap trade seems to be really lousy lately. It just goes flat. So I wouldn't even mess with it. I would just trade any other day of the week, trade in the early morning, and then just be done with it. By 10:30, NG is pretty much over on Thursdays. I'm in Europe too. Maybe you could come over for coffee. Oh, you're so sweet. Only Thursdays, yes, only Thursday. There is a section in your self-paced course, guys. Make sure you really go through that self-paced course. There's a lot of, even from time to time, I go through it again because I forget things. There's a lot of great tips in there. You must go through those chapters. A lot of work was put into that, typing all these things out for you. It's all written in black and white. There's a section on just being newsy, telling you about all the reports. There's there's a section on your indicators in the section 7. There's a section on the strategies in chapter 5 called Putting It All Together. There's all kinds of stuff in there. A lot of work was put into typing everything up and putting it all together, and you guys just need to go through it. And then, you have the answer to a lot of your questions. And this way you can get the show on the road. You don't have to learn by trial and error. Yeah? So, but feel free to email me if you need any help or you're confused about something, and we'll definitely keep you moving. And I'll see you in the next class. Have a very good trading week. Ciao for now.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected. Goodbye.